Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que se conectan a esta sesión informativa de Colfuturo con la Universidad de Sydney. Mi nombre es Luisa Ayala, asistente del programa de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales de Colfuturo, y tendré el gusto de acompañarlos en esta sesión junto con Daniel Muir, representante de la universidad, quien nos contará sobre la oferta académica, requisitos de admisión, opciones de financiación y demás información relevante para iniciar sus estudios de posgrado en el exterior. Quiero recordarles que tenemos un convenio con la universidad que otorga a los beneficiarios de Colfuturo un descuento del 20% en el valor de la matrícula. Tengan en cuenta que para acceder a este beneficio deben postularse primero al programa Crédito Beca de Colfuturo, el cual abrirá su convocatoria el próximo 9 de enero del 2024. With no more introduction, thank you, Daniel, for being here, and you can start your presentation.
Thank you, Louisa, for the very warm introduction, and good evening, everyone. As Louisa said, my name is Danielle Muir, and I'm the Head of International Partnerships and Development, and very excited to present to you around the University of Sydney, and also talking around our agreement that we have that we're very proud of with Colfuturo. Please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat, and we'll make sure we get to all of those at the end. So I've also just put on this front page just our email address. So this is just a shared inbox that's managed by myself and two members of my team. So we can answer any questions that you have even after the presentation around applying to Sydney, questions around a degree. We are more than happy to answer any questions that come up. So some of the topics that we'll cover through today. So I'm going to go through around Sydney as a destination, around the university, our degrees and courses, student life and accommodation. So starting first with Sydney as a destination city. So as you can see, Sydney is a beautiful, vibrant city. We've got incredible beaches, we've got a great city life, great restaurants, entertainment, and obviously our beautiful campus that you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm just going to play first a short video that just kind of gives you a snapshot of Sydney as a city, where you can see, if you are coming here and studying this, what you can experience. So as you can see from that video, Sydney has got, pretty much everything you want, no matter what your interests are. We've got incredible beaches, we've got beautiful parklands, we've got areas that you can do bushwalking, we've got a good, vibrant nightlife, incredible restaurants, and a very multicultural city. Sydney is considered one of the safest and most livable cities among the world, and also we are the economic powerhouse of Australia. So all of the big banks and corporations all have their head offices in Sydney. We've got beautiful weather throughout the year, even though me coming from the US originally, I do think the winters are cold here. They're definitely not that bad. You just need a light jacket on through the winter months. So a bit more around the safest cities in the world. So we have been deemed, according to World Population Review, as number 5 in the world as the world's safest cities. So behind the likes of Tokyo, Japan, and Singapore. So that's something that we're really proud of, and something that I will say, as when I came to Sydney as an international student in 2005, a long time ago, was one of the things that I always felt when I was here, that Sydney was a very safe city. You felt comfortable to walk around early in the morning or at night, and you never felt unease, which is a really nice thing, I think, for such a big city to have that feeling about it. We're also deemed in the top 5 in best cities to live in the world. So again, just that, I think it's a mix of the quality of life, job opportunities, lifestyle, weather, all kind of plays into that. As you would have seen in the video, Sydney is a very culturally diverse and Australian in that sense country. So half of the population was actually born overseas. So we represent over 180 national backgrounds, which I think is pretty incredible that, there's so many different community groups and people from different areas, which then allows you to experience different cultures, different food, and build this incredible global network of friends from around the world. Just going into the top 10 languages that are spoken in Australia. So obviously English is our national language, but you will see a number of different languages spoke. Spanish as well, it comes in at 5.8%, so obviously not as high as Italian or Greek, but it is still quite high up there as well. And as you can see, 1 in 5 people in Australia will speak another language outside of English, which is pretty incredible to show you just how multicultural that we are. So in terms of Sydney's as an economy, so we have more than 600 multinational companies who are based in Sydney, and 60% of our fintechs choose Sydney as their base. As I said, all the big banks and corporations will have their head offices in Sydney, and we are very big here for tech startups. So if you're interested in tech, it is a great place to be, as well as the university as a whole. We do have different clubs and societies around startups, especially in that fintech space and technology. So you can join those and actually pitch your ideas to get funding to get your idea and your business up and moving. So that's also within the university, which is pretty cool. Then just a little bit more around jobs. So we have 70% of the state's employment sits within Sydney, just because we are the biggest city within Australia. So it does help as an international student. You're here in terms of looking for work. Being in that big capital city does help you with your employment options. Okay, so we're just going to go through now into working rights. So as an international student, you are allowed to work up to 40 hours per fortnight per semester. So every 2 weeks, you're allowed to work up to 48 hours while you're studying. When you're in your semester breaks, you are allowed to work as much as you want. I really do encourage students as much as you can, try and not work up to that 48 hours in the fortnight, just because you want to still be focusing on your studies. But it definitely does help in terms of having some money coming in to pay for your bills and your rent and your activity, going out. And I, when I was an international student, did work as well during my time. So now I'll go into more around the University of Sydney. So at the University of Sydney, so the image behind is our new law buildings. This is our law school. You'll see that we've taught 8 prime ministers, 3 astronauts, 110 Rhodes Scholars, and 145 Olympians. So you are with, some very good company and alumni when you come to the university. We've got 73,000 students, and of that 73,000, 25,000 are international students. We've got over 8,000 staff. And over 380,000 alumni. So when you come to the university and study with us, you're becoming part of this global network and a part of this incredible alumni network. So we have different alumni chapters throughout the world, and the alumni is quite active and involved as well. So we are ranked number 1 in Australia and 4th in the world for graduate employability. And we just had our new QS World University rankings have come out. So we're equal 19th in the world and 2nd in Australia. So we're very proud of moving into the top 20 universities in the world, and being 2nd in Australia. As you can see, where we're talking around the graduate employability, now this holds true with, when you take your degree back to Columbia, this is a global ranking. So you can see where we're ranked number 4. The universities in front of us are the very well-known institutions in the US. So MIT, Stanford, and UCLA. And we come in number 4 ahead of Harvard, which is something that we're really proud of. So the University of Sydney, as you can see, is outlined in the drawing around in red. So we are a very big campus that is spread out. So we have got incredible grounds on campus. There's a lot of parkland, grass areas. There are sporting fields. So we've got this incredible space that you're a part of. You can see that we're very close to Sydney CBD, and then the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House are also highlighted out. We've got the train station, Redford Station, is about an 8-minute walk from the campus, or you've got Central Station, which is our main train station in the city. And that you can either walk, it's about a 20-minute walk, or you can get a bus there. So we are very well located in terms of easily getting right into the heart of the city, or getting across to those beautiful beaches as well. So here's just another shot. This shows you all of our campuses that we have. So our main campus is the Camperdown Darlington, which is just here. We also have our Sydney Conservatorium of Music, which is right in the heart of the city next to the Royal Botanic Gardens. We have research farms, Camden and Cabot, which is about 60 kilometers out of the city, is where we have some of our vet students are at. So when they're doing their large animal studies. We also have Cumberland campus and Rozelle. Westmead, there is a big hospital as well at Westmead, and we do have a campus there. So if you're looking at doing some of our medicine and health, some of that is taught out at Westmead as well. And then further out in the country, we do have some more rural campuses as well. I'll pass on that one. Okay, so I'll go into now degrees and courses. Okay, so our postgraduate and research degrees. So we have our main program that I think you'd be looking at is our master's degree. They range in length between 1 to 2 years, just depending on the the course and the length of the program. We also have our master's degrees by research, which are our 2-year program. And then we have our Doctor of Philosophy, our PhD, which is a 3-year program. So that's if you're wanting to do, your independent research and that quite intensive research area. So what can you study? So probably the most that everyone's looking at. So we have a huge range of courses and study areas. So we're one of the most comprehensive universities within Australia. So we have between arts and social sciences, architecture, design and planning, business, economics, education and social work, engineering and computer science, law, medicine and health, music and science. So really any area that you're interested in, that you're working in, or you want to further your skills in, we would have a course for you. So go now into scholarships. So these are university-wide scholarships that we offer. So we do have the Vice Chancellor International Scholarship. There are faculty-specific scholarships, as well as our Sydney International Student Award. All of these, we would recommend you to go on our website and look at them and see what would be suitable to you. In terms as well of that, we do obviously have our agreement with Colfuturo. And our agreement with Colfuturo is that if you are selected through Colfuturo, through the scheme, then you will receive a 20% fee reduction from the University of Sydney, and that will be for the duration of your degree. So if you're doing a 2-year degree, then you will receive 20% for the duration of your program. Same thing if you're doing it for a research. So when you apply to the University of Sydney, you will be prompted in your application form. Given that you are from Colombia, we have tried to set some stuff up in our back-end system. So you'll have some questions that you will answer. And one of those you would just put in, there's a free text that you're applying through Colfuturo so that we know to make sure that we're assessing your application the correct way. Okay, so our academic year in Australia, so we have 2 semesters per year. So semester 1 generally starts at the very end of February, and that will go till June. In between that February and June, you will have a mid-semester break, and then obviously you will have your exams in June, and then you have pretty much the whole month of July off as your winter holiday. Semester 2 starts generally the very beginning of August, that first week of August, and that will go through to December. So November, early December is our exam period. And then that is our biggest break that we have, is from December through then to February, when semester 1 starts the next year. So depending on when you're applying to come into the program, well, that will determine, when you're getting that big break. So, if you were to come in next year in March, then you would have obviously the June break, and then you'd start your next big break in December. So around studying in Australia. So first thing that you would do is choose the degree you wish to apply for. Check your eligibility and then the fees. So on our website, it'll list through each degree we offer, what is covered within that units of study within that program, and what those entry requirements are. So this is where, if there's any concern you have, do you meet the entry requirements, please send us an email and we can check for you if you provide us with some background information on yourself. Also on our website, it'll list all of our English language requirements. So we do accept IELTS, TOEFL, are kind of the main ones that we do. We do accept other English language subjects as well. So then you would submit your application. All applications are submitted online, and it's generally around a 2-week process for our admissions team to review the applications, process, and then send out and hopefully an offer letter to you. So just bear that in mind. Once your application is submitted, it's around a 2-week break, so it does take a little bit of time for them to assess. You then hopefully, as we said, will receive what we refer to as an unconditional offer. So an unconditional offer means that there are no conditions within your application. So you've met all of the entry requirements, you've met the English language requirements, and the degree requirements. If for some reason you receive a conditional offer, and it will outline in your offer letter what is missing. So maybe we are waiting for your English language results to come in, and that would be why you have the condition until we receive them. So once you receive your offer, you then will accept. You pay your initial tuition fee, and then you receive a confirmation of enrollment once you have paid. Now, that confirmation of enrollment is what you use to apply for your student visa. And then we look forward to welcoming you in Sydney once you fly. If you, for some reason, haven't met our English language requirements and you would prefer, rather than resitting your IELTS test, we do have a Centre for English Teaching, CET, where you can come to us and study English before you start your program with Sydney. So this is where we do what we call a package offer. So you would have an offer that first would cover your program with CET, and then you would come into the degree. And the length of study between 36 to 5 weeks, that depends on how far off your IELTS score was. So for example, we need an IELTS of 6.5, but you might have had a 6, or in most areas, most subjects, but a 5.5 and 1, you might just have that shorter 5 weeks that's required. Okay, so now we're going to talk around support, health, and safety for our international students. So there's a number, as you can see, of student support within the university. So we do have on campus doctors, pharmacists, dentists, optometrists, physiotherapists, and psychologists. We do have career support for you. So we have a dedicated careers team within the university that can talk with you around career advice. They run workshops. We have orientation and arrival sessions, so helping you around settling into Sydney, meeting other international students and other also domestic students. We have disability services, language and learning support, and also mental health support, and also the multi-faith areas. We've got dedicated prayer rooms and spaces on campus. So we try and make sure that everything that you need in terms of support is available to you on campus, and we want you to feel like you are supported when you are here with us. So as I said, we do have a dedicated GP on campus. So they are located right in the center of the campus, and they can help you with, if you're sick or, you need a referral onto someone, and they can help you with that. As we said, we're very committed to keeping our international students safe. There are different policies in place where if there is a critical incident happens, there is security around campus. So, and they also do buses that will drive students to the train station as well, that run throughout the day. And especially at night, if you're new and you're, not sure about which way to go, it's a good way just to get to the train station safely. So we'll talk a little bit now around student life. So we have a very vibrant student campus. We've got over 250 clubs and societies, which is pretty incredible. So really, no matter what your interest is, there is a club and society for you, down to, I know there's like a chocolate lovers one, and there's food ones, there's all the faculties will have their own clubs and societies as well. So there's, a marketing society or literature. So there's really, no matter what your interest is, it's a way for you to get connected and involved with other students. And I'll just play one more quick video that just kind of shows you some of the vibrancy on campus that you'll be a part of. That's just a quick video. That is from what we refer to as Welcome Week. So that runs at the start of each semester. So basically the campus turns almost like into a big festival. So as you can see, there's concerts, there's music playing, there's food trucks on campus, all the clubs and societies around. There's always free food going, and it's a great way just to kind of, really get into the student life at the university. So we'll talk now around our accommodation options. So we have a few different accommodation options on campus. So we have what we refer to as our on-campus accommodation and then our independently run accommodation. So the on-campus accommodation, they're generally residential colleges that are at the University of Sydney. So you'll see those listed there. Now, some of them will be a room on its own. Some of them you will share a room. Some of them will have meals catered for, and other ones you'll be cooking your own meals. Then there's also independently run student accommodation. So the Sydney University Village, Uni Lodge, and Scape. So most of those you will, with the independently run ones, you will be responsible for cooking all your own meals. They don't provide any catering for them. You also, outside of these, you can live obviously off campus. When you go onto our website, onto housing, there is links that takes you to off-campus accommodation options. So whether you're just looking to rent a room within a house, so you might have other roommates, whether that's around the campus or a bit further out, then determines the price difference. Okay, now I'm just going to go through, just to finish off the presentation, so we've got some time for questions, is some of the beautiful photos of our campus. So we've got, as we said, this incredible campus. So what you're seeing here, this is the quadrangle. This is our kind of beautiful shot of the campus. So across the front here, this is the Great Hall. This is where your graduation ceremonies are held. We do hold formal events in there. And these original lawns we used to play tennis on. Obviously now they're very protected lawns, and they try and keep them as green as possible. But from here you can see straight into the city. And the one thing that would have changed from this shot, when this was taken to now, is this space here. We now have a brand new museum that's there, which is incredible. So I do sometimes on my lunch break walk through the museum because the exhibitions change through there. It's pretty amazing to see what they have. This is our new law building. So it's our beautiful law school. So our law school has this building here, as well as they do have a location as well in the city. But it's incredible, the glass, it looks very beautiful at all different times of the day. This building here, this is our business school. This is what we call the Abercrombie building. So it's a very new, I think this was built around 2018, 2019. So it's an incredible space. It's got great breakout space, meeting spaces where you can have time to, sit and meet with your friends, study in quiet spaces. There's computer labs to work in. And there is a cafe as well down the bottom. This is our newest building that has been built. This is the Susan Wakehill Health Building. So this was just opened in 2022. This is where all of our health and Allied Health is now run. So it's got incredible lecture space, lab spaces, breakout rooms, and it looks out over our oval where sport is played. So you do have a nice outlook as well from there. And there's just another shot of the Susan Wakehill, the health building. And this building is our Sydney Nanoscience Hub, which is a pretty incredible building if you get the chance to walk through. This is our Charles Perkins Center. So it's another health and research hub as well on the campus. This building is a new science building that was built. So it's kind of behind it is the old, and then this was the new that was put up in the front. So it's pretty cool. I think when this photo was taken, it was still looks a bit under construction towards the top. This is just a beautiful staircase from inside the business school. So it is kind of one of the shots you always will see students coming in and taking photos from in there. And as I said, we look forward to welcoming you to the University of Sydney. I hope you found the presentation useful and was able to go through not just around the university, but also looking at Sydney as your destination city, because we do know with students, they have the whole world to choose from, and you're not always just choosing the university, you're also choosing where you're going to live and study. So you want to make sure that they're the right fit for you. So I'll open up now with Louisa to some questions. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle, for this wonderful presentation. I encourage those who are connected to write all your questions. But meanwhile, what makes a strong candidate for this kind of programs at the university?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the University of Sydney, we are purely academic merit-based in terms of our applications. So we are looking at, so for example, if you're applying for one of our postgraduate programs, for example, the Master of Commerce, we are looking at your bachelor's degree academic results. So we're looking at how you've done within your undergraduate degree, as well as making sure you're meeting our English language results for that program. So we purely are looking at academics for that degree. Some other programs, so some of our design or architecture programs or music, you also will have to submit bodies of work that you've done. So we're assessing with those ones on your academic as well as your skills within that space. So it just depends on which degree you're applying for, but most of them are an academic merit-based program.
Perfect, thank you. Students who want to travel with their families can do it?
Yes. Yeah, we do have a part of my team. We obviously look after a number of sponsored students, and within I can't give you visa advice, but I do know when you apply for your student visa, you can apply to bring your family along with you, and their spouse can also apply for a visa to be able to work in Sydney while they're here. If your children are school age, then obviously they can go to our primary schools here if they're at that age, or there are obviously childcare centers as well that they can go into if you need care for them as well while you're studying.
Perfect. Which is the minimum level of English students need to have?
Yeah, so that depends on the degrees. The lowest English language requirement we have would be an IELTS 6.5 with a 6.0 in each band. Some programs require an IELTS of 7 overall with a 6.0 in each band, but generally most programs are a 6.5 overall. And it's IELTS academic that you're taking as well, just to make sure.
Important to mention that. What can a student do to improve their chances to being admitted?
Yeah, so I think when you're applying to the to Sydney, when you're submitting your application online, my advice is always make sure you have all your documentation together and ready. If you have everything completed with you, so your academic transcripts from your bachelor's degree, if you're applying for a research degree, it would be your bachelor's degree plus your showing your research component you've done within that, so your honors or your thesis that you've done. If you're applying as well for a PhD, you need to first find a supervisor, which you can do on our website through, we have it called Research Supervisor Connect, where we actually have information on academics who are looking for PhD students and that they're happy to supervise. So you need to kind of first be proactive within the research space and reaching out to the academic, and you would have a letter as well from them. They're happy to support you and be your supervisor through your study. So making sure you have that documentation together in place, having your English language results finalized, and submitting all of that information together. So if you have everything together when you apply, it's around 2 weeks, as we said, for you to receive hopefully an unconditional offer letter. If you're applying for, while you're waiting for, because the deadlines with Colforturo, for example, and you don't have your IELTS results yet, you can definitely apply to us. What we do is we still process your application within that normal 2-week time frame, but you will receive a conditional offer while we're waiting for your final English language results to come in, as an example. And then once we receive that from you, we then will send you through an unconditional offer.
Danielle, could you give us an average cost of living in Sydney for a
Yes.
student?
Yeah. So Sydney, I will be completely honest with you, is an expensive city to live in. It varies depending on where you live. So obviously, if you're living on campus in the on-campus accommodation, the ones that cover your meals are the most expensive, but then all your 3 meals a day are covered. A lot of our students, especially postgraduate students, tend to not live on campus. We do have one postgraduate accommodation on campus, but a lot of the on-campus accommodation is predominantly taken up by undergraduate students, which makes sense because they're younger and it's generally their first time away from home. For me, what I would suggest as a postgraduate student or research student I would be looking at off-campus accommodation. And even if you're willing to go, say, 10 minutes away from the university campus, your rent will definitely come down substantially. But you probably would want to factor in terms of accommodation and living costs for the year, I would say and it depends on how much you go out and eating and activities and stuff, but I would say it would be around $20,000 Australian a year. But that really depends on your style of living. So some students can rent a room off campus, about 10-15 minutes away, for about $200 a week. So about $800 a month. That can cover their accommodation. And then it really just depends on how much you're spending on food. But I would say on average, you probably could spend around $100 a week. If you're cooking all your meals at home, that would cover all of your grocery bills for the week.
Okay.
Around campus, you can get some pretty cheap food. So that's another way to kind of save some money. And a lot of the shopping centers where they have a food court within them, towards the end of the day, they'll box up the food that's left over from that day that's still obviously hot and warm, and you can normally get stuff for half price. So it's another good way to kind of help keep your costs down.
Okay, thank you. When people should start their admission preparation?
Yes. So if you are looking, I always say apply as early as possible, mainly because once you have your offer letter, you have your offer letter. So we do have some programs just due to popularity, or some programs have just only take a smaller number of students. We do have caps on some programs. So I always say apply as early as possible. So for example, if you're looking at starting in our semester 1, classes start at the end of February, but you could apply now if you wanted, and we are getting applications now for semester 1. So I would say I would try and have your application and everything in this year, for example, by the end of this year for that intake, because getting your offer letter is one thing. The next thing is applying for your visa. Now, generally, visas from South America don't take as long as some other countries do. So you might just be waiting a couple weeks for your visa to come through, but you definitely want to make sure you have enough time, because then it allows you to not be stressed, I guess. You've got your offer letter, you can apply for your student visa, and then you can start to look at your accommodation options and see where you want to go. And it gives you time then as well to find the best time to fly, or you're not, applying in January and you've got a very short window to get your visa, find accommodation, and travel across. So I always think having that little bit more time is always helpful. For example, when I came as an international student, I started in semester 2, so in that August intake. And I believe, from memory, it's a while ago, I applied around, I think it was November or December for that August intake. So I applied quite early, just so that I could have everything in place to make it a bit less stressful for me. So because I know what it's like, you are packing up your life and potentially your family and relocating for 1 to 3 years. So it is a huge undertaking as well.
Can you tell us how is the work experience in Sydney?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is a lot of work opportunities for you. So I definitely do encourage you to get that experience. So, and it depends what you're wanting to do. Some students just come and they might find a job on campus. They might work at a local cafe or restaurant. Some try and go into a private or corporate company and work 1 or 2 days a week. Our research students tend to generally pick up tutoring work or other research work within their faculty, so that can help them to have some money coming through that way as well. But definitely there's lots of job opportunities to do. And as I said, you don't want to work too much because you still want, obviously, your focus to be on your studies, but definitely having the work is good because it does give you that little bit of extra, money to make you comfortable in terms of your living costs, and having that money to go out and do some activities and fun stuff.
So there is opportunities to work on campus?
There is opportunities to work on campus. So there is on campus, there's a number of restaurants and cafes. So they all do employ people, and a lot of students will get jobs through there. Different, like the area with I work in, we do have what we refer to as student ambassadors, and we do have postgraduate student ambassadors as well as research student ambassadors, so that you can, when the team uses student ambassadors, so they might be helping at an event like this one you're seeing behind you, which is our welcome week. So they might be doing office work for us or event setup. So you might be helping at an event, so talking with students around your experience as a student. So there definitely is work on campus as well to find.
Okay, well, we do not have more questions, but just to finish, could you please give one piece of advice for those who are planning to study at the University of Sydney?
Yeah. My advice would be, Just take the risk and do it. I know for a lot of students that Australia might be their number 3 choice. We know that a lot of them are looking at the US or looking at, going through Europe. But I do think there's something very special about Sydney, and there's something very special about the University of Sydney. Just the vibrancy, the culture, the multiculturalism that you'll be a part of, and just the incredible beauty of the campus. I think you can't go wrong. As I said, we've got incredible academics, programs. We're ranked in the top 20 universities in the world. So that carries with you when you go back home and you have that on your resume. It holds really high that you've studied at a top 20 institution. So just thinking, of being able to get into an institution with that ranking and having that with you for the rest of your life and that network to be a part of is pretty incredible. And I know for me, coming from the US, I'm originally from California, and coming to Australia on a whim to study was for me the best decision I've ever made. And just, it's an incredible city. It's a beautiful city. And, I've made incredible lifelong friends that are both here in Australia and also around the world. So I think it's the best decision you'll ever make.
Thank you, Danielle. So that concludes our webinar. We really appreciate you taking the time today. And with no more to add, have an excellent day, Danielle, and a good night for those who are connected today. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.